And now it is my honor to introduce our new Rotary International Director for Zone 33 and 34, Patrick Eakes. Patrick, take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Andy. And good afternoon and good evening, my friends. Welcome to the first Membership Action Plan webinar of the 2024-2025 Rotary year. For those of you who are new to the Membership Action Plan, or MAP, as we usually call it, we particularly appreciate you joining us. For those of you who are returning to the MAP webinar, welcome back. We're excited that you've joined us because it means you want to see your Rotary Club grow. Each month, MAP's webinars provide you, our club and district leaders, with skills and strategies that are proven to produce membership growth. Most of the time, these proven membership tactics are presented by the club leaders who have already field tested them. That's why we say that the Membership Action Plan is by Rotarians for Rotarians. Each webinar provides club leaders with skills that are bite-sized, immediately actionable, and backed by real-time data. When you put what you learn in these webinars into action with your club, you can create sustainable membership growth. Consistent, moderate growth is the true goal of the Membership Action Plan. Why is growing your club membership important? Because clubs that are growing aren't just adding to their numbers, they're increasing the impact of their service projects, they're supporting the Rotary Foundation better, and they have more business connections and fellowship opportunities. In short, everything we love about Rotary gets better when our club is healthy and growing. So we hope you'll join us for each month's webinar, usually on the second Monday of each month, to learn these techniques that will supplement what your club is already doing well. And as you experience success in growing your membership, we may give you a chance to brag about your success in a future webinar. Now, let's get to tonight's webinar, Kickstart Your Year, Driving Membership Growth. Our first guest this evening is from our neighboring zone to the north. Herb Klotz is a past governor of District 7430 in Southeast Pennsylvania. Herb is also the immediate past Rotary Coordinator for Zone 32, and he currently serves as the Zone 32 Action Plan Champion and Regional Plan Lead. Herb understands membership growth. From 2016 to 2019, his district increased its membership in 3 of those 4 years. They added 4 new standalone clubs, 4 new satellite clubs, and had a net gain of almost 100 members. Herb, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, thank you, Patrick. What I would like to do tonight is talk to you about a study that we did last year on clubs with a consistent growth culture. And we're going to do that through the lens of Rotary's Action Plan. Now, as you know, Rotary's Action Plan is a major focus this year for all of our clubs around the world. There are 4 major priorities in Rotary's Action Plan: increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance participant engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. Now, as I mentioned, the basis of what I want to share with you is a survey that we just completed last fall. And that survey included clubs across the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean. But it wasn't all clubs. We were focused on clubs with a consistent growth culture over the past 5 years. And we identified 350 clubs that met our criteria. And that was about 4% of the 8,200 clubs across that region. We sent out a survey to the immediate past presidents of those clubs, and 121 of those club past presidents responded. So what I'm going to share with you today is what we learned from those 121 clubs. Now, a little bit more about the survey. The survey included 10 action statements that were linked to the action plan priorities. And here's an example. We set club goals, we track our progress, and we adjust our actions according to how well we're doing. And that one was in the priority of increase our impact. And we asked them to rate that on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 meaning we never do that, 5 being we always do that. And in addition to that, we asked 2 open-ended questions so that we could have them tell their stories about why their club grew their membership. So let's get into it. The first priority is increase our impact. Now, there were 4 action statements associated with increase our impact. We have strong governance and leadership continuity. We actively partner with other organizations. We set club goals and track our progress. And you can see here, those clubs that responded to the survey all said, yes, we often or always do that. In other words, the answer was between 4 and 5 out of the scale of 1 to 5. But there was one question where they didn't quite go as high, and that was we periodically conduct a community assessment. So even these clubs that are growing, here's an opportunity for improvement. Now, we learned a whole lot about why they increased their impact, and I only can share a little bit about this today with you. In fact, we'll see 4 different actions on these slides, but I only really have time to talk about one. So the one I'm going to talk about with you on increase our impact is setting realistic goals and tracking our progress. Now, in addition to the survey, we also looked at underlying Rotary International data in Club Central to understand, well, did these clubs really, they say they set goals, did they actually set them in Club Central? And the answer was a resounding yes. These clubs set they set goals 40 to 50% at a rate 40 to 50% higher than the average club. And they track them. And the clubs were 2 times more likely to earn the Rotary citation as well. So growth doesn't happen by accident. What we see when we see growth in clubs, it's almost always intentional. So let's go on to the second priority. The second priority is expand our reach. Now, there were 3 actions associated with expand our reach. We use multiple media to tell our story. We actively partner with other organizations. Well, that one showed up already in impact. And we strive to ensure our members reflect our community. And again, as you can see, all of these action plan statements, these clubs told us, yes, we do these. We do these often and always. So again, the one I want to highlight here is about using multiple forms of media to tell your story. And I want to do that with a very short story, a true story about a club in our district, and it was the Percy Rotary Club. This club in 2019 had 12 members, and we couldn't understand why they only had 12 members. They were super active in their community, and they were a lot of fun to be with. And they were in a suburban community where there's lots more people that would be with a heart for service that could join their Rotary Club. Well, it turned out that the reason, or one of the main reasons why they had such a small Rotary Club is because nobody knew about what they were doing. So they learned about a Facebook group in their community that highlighted community service events. And they started posting their community service events on that Facebook community. And they invited people to join them, and they did. And when the people joined them, they found out what a fun group they were. And they joined Rotary. And I'm happy to say 3 years later, that club now has 36 members. So yes, small clubs can grow. The third priority that I need to go through is enhancing participant engagement. Now, there were 3 action statements associated with enhancing participant engagement. We celebrate our successes and have fun together. That was the highest rated one of any of the action statements. And the word fun showed up in when they would tell their stories more than pretty much any other word that we saw. We would always see the word fun show up, and it was unprompted. Members and others are keen to participate, and we seek out and support our members' priorities. Now, the one I want to highlight here is around seeking out and supporting our members' priorities, responding to their interests. One of the most important things that leadership in a club, in a growing club, can do is to listen. Listen to their members. And there's lots of ways to listen to your members. And one of them is through surveying your members. If you've got a medium or a large size club, that's a great way to learn more. And Rotary has a survey to help understand your members' interests. They also have a survey called a Rotary Club Health Check, which is another great way to take an inward look at your club. But to me, the most important time to learn about our members' interests and priorities is when they join your club. When they join your club, we have a golden opportunity to learn what are their interests. And sometimes maybe you'll be able to fit them on a committee that's already in your club. And other times, maybe they'll have an idea that you haven't even thought of, and it might help your club grow in a way you never dreamed was possible. Now, our fourth priority is increasing our ability to adapt. Now, when I look at the 4 action statements here, 3 of the 4 are action statements that you've already seen before. But the one that I want to highlight is the first one. We are open to new ideas and trying new things. As you can see, the other 3 we've already highlighted. And what I really want to highlight here on increasing our ability to adapt is the idea of creating alternate experiences in your club. Now, maybe that lunchtime meeting has worked for many, many years, but we all know there's lots of people in your community with a heart for service where a lunchtime meeting just isn't going to work. So thinking about alternate experiences, sometimes it's just an alternate meeting time, but sometimes it's just a different model, like an impact club or a next gen club. A next gen club, we define that as a club focused on inviting young professionals into our club. So please think about alternate experiences as ways to grow your club. And this is the way you can do it. You can grow your club on a step change in this way. Now, 2 more things I want to cover. My next to the last slide is about attrition and attraction. Now, when we think about attrition, the average attrition for North American clubs is 15%. Now, when we looked at these 350 growing clubs, the average attrition rate was also 15%. But the difference was in the attraction rate. When we look at North American clubs, the average attraction rate is 12%, but these growing clubs, it was more than twice that. It was 25%. These clubs were focused on creating an irresistible experience to attract new members. And what I like to say is when we think about growing our club, if we focus on attraction, the attrition tends to take care of itself. Now, one final slide. Now, we've done this survey several times in the past. What we've done this year was focus it on Rotary's action plan. But there's other ways to slice and dice the data, and we've kind of seen the same trends year after year. So here's another way to think about the attributes of growing clubs. So the first one is effective governance, and I kind of alluded to this before, intentional leadership. Second one is active, intentional member engagement. And the third one is dynamic, meaningful service. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk about service today, but service is the main reason why most people join Rotary clubs. And the fourth is strong public image. I did talk a little bit about that. And the fifth one is diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially diversity, thinking about how do we make our club look more like our community. So I want to thank you for your attention. And I know what comes next. It's a presentation of a perfect example of a growing club. So thank you very much.
Herb, thanks so much for a great presentation. It sounds like growing clubs have found some common success principles that work. Not coincidentally, those are the same strategies you'll find in the MAP playbook. So we're going to move this presentation along and introduce to you Pat Kale and Andrew Friend, and they're going to tell us about their success story.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Andrew and I both consider it an honor to be with you all this evening to share a little bit about the success of the Monroe Rotary Club. Our club is an old club. We were formed in April of 1922, and in our heyday, we had over 120 members, and we had a very substantial impact in our community. However, over time, our club membership declined. And in 2018, you can see we had 71 members. And by 2023, our membership had dropped to 47. In addition, our community service had also suffered. We had lost our way when it came to serving our community. And our succession plan kind of blew up, to be honest, which is how Andrew and I became co-presidents last year. And then enthusiasm. Our members' enthusiasm was at an all-time low. And so Andrew and I knew that we had to do something really to shake up our club and to get that status quo going in a different direction. And then to also get back to basics, why we joined Rotary and why we were a part of it. So the very first thing we did, and this is going to sound familiar because Herb just talked about it, we did a survey. We created a survey to send that out to our members because we wanted their honest feedback. Why did they join Rotary? What was their perception of our club experience? How did they feel about being a part of our club? And what would they like to see different? And so the first thing that we did is we took those results and we compiled them and we reported those back out to our club members. So we had a meeting before our Rotary year started. We showed them what they told us, which fortunately was what we were already hoping to hear, which is that they wanted to focus on service and they wanted to focus on growing our membership. That, along with the graph you just saw, which was very clear what was happening to our membership. Now, you know, when you go to a meeting, you know that your membership is declining, right? Like you're in the room, you see there are fewer people in the room. But the truth of it is when you post a graph that shows very clearly what has happened to our membership, it really is a reality check. So survey results, the graph that showed the picture, and then our enthusiasm for making things look a lot different resulted in an action plan. And these were the three focus areas. The first thing that we wanted to focus on, of course, was service, making sure that our club had an impact in our community and giving our members more opportunity to serve in our community. The second was membership. We came to Rotary to serve and to have fellowship and to meet like-minded people who love their community. And we wanted to grow that membership. We wanted to be a welcoming club where all in our community would feel welcome and included. And lastly, one of the most important pieces was public image, telling our story about our club in our community.
So jumping in to dissect our plan, we'd like to discuss the three focus areas that led to our success. Starting with the first focus area, public image, we focused on two major projects with this piece, social media and stories in our local newspaper. Now, as Rotarians, we tend to be modest people, right? We don't do community service so that we can show off. But in order for us to increase our engagement and awareness, people need to see what's happening at our Rotary Club. We have a goal of posting at least 2 social media posts each week. And there's just so much power in social media. And when our members are enthusiastically liking and sharing our club's posts, people are becoming curious about how they can learn more about Rotary. And social media is truly the way that most people learn about everything these days. So what do we share? 3 words: people in action. Pictures and stories that get people excited and curious to learn more about this thing called Rotary.
Well, the next piece is membership, and it is important. So we focused on the member experience, creating a positive experience, every member, every guest, every meeting. So we worked to ensure our meetings were welcoming, high energy, and fun. We had greeters at the door, but we encouraged every member to greet every guest and make them feel welcome and included. We explained our Rotary traditions, things like the 4-way test. If you're a new guest to Rotary and you've not seen people stand up and recite the 4-way test, it can feel a little strange. We wanted those guests to understand our traditions. Why do we do the things we do? And we wanted them to feel included. Every guest at every meeting is invited to become a member of Monroe Rotary. Every week, a membership committee member meets every guest and gifts them with a 4-way test coin for them to keep and carry, and then hands them a card you see on the left side of the screen. On one side, it has a QR code that, if scanned, will take you to a video about our club, showing our club in action and how we enjoy serving our community. The other side shows details about what you need to know if you want to be a member of Rotary, and Monroe Rotary specifically. When, where are the meetings, how much is our membership dues, and what do we do in regards to service. We hosted quarterly Bring a Guest Day. In our club, if you bring a guest, you're responsible for paying for their lunch. Well, on Bring a Guest Day, the club picks up the tab for lunch. So we encourage our members, invite potential members to be your guest on that day. And our membership committee chair, Keith, will do a presentation over basic things about Rotary, or he'll celebrate something that we're proud of, like our participation in the CART Fund, and he'll explain some of the things that we really enjoy about Rotary. And he does a great job of doing that. And then on that day, after Keith's presentation, we host a micro project, and we invite every guest to join our members and work side by side to bring that project to completion during our meeting. It is a packed agenda that's fun and exciting, engaging, and shows that guest what it's like to be a Rotarian. And then every person who attends as a guest is invited to join Rotary. We also shortened and revamped the application process. Many of our members who came during a certain time, and I think Andrew is one of those, when they submitted their application, we just didn't make a big deal of it. It took a while for the club to get back to them, and in some cases, it took a long while for their induction. We shortened that immediately. And so what happens now is when we receive an application, the same day that application comes in, they get an email from one of the co-presidents thanking them for their application and telling them what to expect next. The same day, our members receive an email that announces we've received a new application and we can't wait to greet this new Rotarian. And within a matter of a few days, that prospective member is welcome to Monroe Rotary, and then we schedule their induction often by the next meeting. So the process is much shorter, much more exciting, with a lot more enthusiasm and a welcoming spirit. The next thing is, we knew that part of what Herb just said is we knew that new Rotarians needed to feel included. They need to feel that they're a part of the Rotary family, and so we put them to work immediately. We know that membership growth and membership retention and engagement is directly related to service.
And then finally, our final focus area of our pie is service. First and foremost, we determined that we needed to have a positive and fun culture in everything that we do, especially our service projects. And our immediate past district governor, Deb Corbett, jokingly encouraged clubs to add a 5th question to the 4-way test. Is it fun? And yes, it is in Monroe. Our membership chair, Keith, this year coined a term, getting it done while having fun, and we certainly do. One impactful change that we had, made this year was to introduce micro projects, an idea that we learned from Ron Pierce, past president of the Guilford Rotary Club in North Carolina. In the past, like many clubs, we had a guest speaker every week. It was very routine and it got a little bit stale. So we decided to shake things up. Micro projects are simple, yet very impactful projects that can be completed in the time of a regular meeting. And the advantage of doing these during regular meetings is that members already have the meeting on their calendar and they will show up. We chose activities that all members can participate regardless of their abilities. Just a few examples, we asked members to collect school supplies, and on our micro project day, we filled 150 backpacks for the youth in foster care in our county. Very impactful, yet we did it in less than a half an hour. Other ideas, we filled snack bags for the Boys and Girls Club. We filled stockings for teen parents with the Alliance for Children. And we even wrote cards for Teacher Appreciation Day. And remember, we have to have fun while we're getting it done. Including guests in our service, Pat mentioned Bring a Guest Day. We found that micro projects are the way that people can easily experience service quickly through Rotary. We are sure to have a micro project when we have lots of guests in the house. In celebrating our successes, it's human nature that we all want to be part of a winning team. So at our meetings, we're highlighting, we're cheering, we're recapping about our club successes with the projects that we've completed. And as Pat mentioned on the membership slide, in order to retain new members, we need to engage them. We're fortunate that we have a Rotary legend in our club, John Yermak. He's a zone trainer. He shared a tidbit with Pat and I before we got started into our Rotary year as presidents. Every member needs a Rotary job. So in service, we're encouraging that we're including new members to help them feel part of that winning team. So to summarize, our strategy was not complicated. We had 3 focus areas that all work hand in hand. We increased service with the spirit of keeping it fun while getting it done, while celebrating our wins. We increased our visibility and public image while making our club seem irresistible. And as a result, we added 35 new members this year. And after attrition, we ended our Rotary year with a net increase of 57% in our membership. This is a recipe that can be replicated, but most importantly, as club leaders, we couldn't do this alone. The survey was a tool that we used to understand what the club wants, and it motivated the many dedicated members to jump on board with this plan.
Thank you to Pat and Andrew for a great presentation and the courageous leadership that you had for your club. In a few moments, we'll transition to our Q&A segment and give you the opportunity to ask direct questions of all of our panelists today. But first, I'd like to recap what you heard from all 3 speakers. We heard earlier Herb sharing the secret sauce of 121 clubs that have grown consistently over the past 5 years. They increased their impact. They grew membership, largely through effective club leadership and continuity. Yes, they did lose members at about the same rate as the average club in North America. What they also did was attract members at a much higher rate than the average club in North America, hence the growth. They expanded their reach through good PR and partnerships with other organizations. They enhanced their members' engagement, new service projects, and new ways to be involved in a fun club culture. And lastly, they increased their ability to adapt, trying new things, changing up their meetings, offering alternative types of memberships, as well as alternative club types. So thank you, Herb, for sharing that inspirational message and information. Then we heard from Pat and Andrew, who shared with us how they transformed their club from declining to irresistible using the exact same principles. Step 1, recognizing that they had a problem that needed to be fixed. Now, this is not a brand new playbook. They mentioned the Guilford video that Ron Pierce did. If you haven't seen it lately, you might want to take a look at it. On the Zone 3334 website, you can use the search function and type in the word courageous. It'll be the first thing to pop up for you. And as I mentioned, Pat and Andrew followed the MAP playbook of intentional membership growth strategies. They changed their club culture, starting with helping the members understand that where they were wasn't okay. Basically resetting the bar, redefining what good is, and reminding them that we've got to grow this club rather than let it continue to decline. And as a leading authority on culture change says, if you can't get everybody's attention, create a crisis. Well, Pat and Andrew thankfully didn't need to create a crisis. They already had one. It's just that their members didn't know about it. So they put the graph up on the screen in front of them and let them see. As mentioned in an earlier portion of the presentation, Pat said that there was some audible gasp when people realized just exactly what had happened over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. Same thing Ron Pierce did in his video. They asked the members what they wanted. They did a member satisfaction survey. Then they went back to the members and said, here's what we heard, and here's what we're going to do differently as a result. And they also trained their members as to how they could play in this game. They taught them how to use the social media tools, how to not just like, but also share social media posts with other people in their network. They focus on the club experience. The club experience, as we know, is what matters most. And they created, as Mike Walker is fond of saying, a culture of inviting. You can say they ran the table with respect to club culture change, leadership, and execution. Just a remarkable story to hear, and thank you both for sharing their insight today. Now, as I mentioned, we'll be transitioning over to our Q&A segment. So hopefully this information, this recap, everything you've heard today has sparked a few things in your head and you want to ask questions. As a reminder, we will use the Q&A box here in Zoom to moderate those questions. So drop the questions in and we'll go ahead and get started. Naturally, we have a plethora of questions that have started to come in. How exciting. The first one we have here, let's go with Miss Pat. You have a two-part question. It's a first one-part question, so let's go, Ms. Pat. What was the most challenging part of this strategy that you implemented with your club?
That's a great question. And I think that most of us who've been in Rotary a while might say, oh gosh, was it the members? Were they nervous about it? I think for me, the biggest thing was holding on. It went fast. I mean, we went from 47. We set a goal. We were so ambitious. We said, we're going to grow our club to 60. How exciting would that be? Well, we hit 60 before we were 6 months in. And then we said, well, we can't stop there. So we revised our goal to 70. And then we actually got to 81 before we had some attrition at the end. It was moving fast. So what I would say is, for us, the co-president model worked really well. Engaging other members, especially longtime members, in the process was very helpful. But for me, it was making sure we were crossing the T's and dotting the I's on this fast-moving train.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing, Pat. Andrew, this next one comes for you. It's in reference to every club has members that just don't want to follow along with any change that occurs. What did you do about those that were not in agreement or even tried to get in the way of what you were trying to do?
I think because what we've did is kind of set the stage with the status of our club, and you know, we're very frank with our club members and said, look, you've seen the graph and we've decreased, you know, over time significantly. I think because we showed them that, and we're a little bit frank, saying if we don't make a change, there goes the history of our club, our 102-year-old club, by the way. So I think then doing that kind of motivated members that otherwise might have been a little bit more resistant to say, hey, yes, we do need to do something.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Andrew. Herb, the next one's coming for you. In this question, the people attending are interested to learn who was responsible for completing the survey, the club presidents or the general club members, and what was the most surprising thing you learned from these clubs?
Okay, well, the person who was responsible for completing the survey was the immediate past president of the club. And the reason we picked the immediate past president was simply because they had the experience, and they knew, you know, pretty much what was happening in the club, and had kind of lived it for a year. Now, what was the most surprising thing that we learned? Well, we've been doing these surveys for a number of years, okay? And I'm not sure you want to call this surprising, but it's amazing to me, Jose, how consistent the results have come back year after year. When we look at characteristics of growing clubs, it's not rocket science. You know, what we learned about the Monroe Rotary Club is a very, very typical story. We've looked at clubs that have grown during the pandemic. We've looked at clubs that had grown before the pandemic. It's intentional leadership. Intentional leadership is really where it happens when we're looking at membership growth.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Herb. Andrew, the next one's coming back for you. People are interested to hear more about your micro projects. You mentioned a few, and I'm sure there are plenty others that didn't come up. What would you say was your favorite and the one that had the best return on investment that other clubs can implement in their own club?
My favorite was when we had packed backpacks for foster youth. One thing that we did is, yes, there is a large cost with these projects, but we asked members if they can. We gave them a list of school supplies and said, if you could pick up any supplies, we have 150 backpacks. Some had asked their coworkers to join in, and it just really created this energy of how the community can come together for this project. So that was one of my favorites, because we are not only engaging members to do the work, but to do the background work of getting all of the supplies and things. Other projects, we've filled out cards for teachers, which has a very low cost. The video that was mentioned with Ron Pierce, he had the idea, which we didn't do yet, but of doing coloring books for children who are in the hospital, in Children's Hospital, and having the members color one page and then signing that page, and you slap a sticker that says Rotary Club on that. So there's lots of different ideas, and Ron has a lot of ideas in his video. I encourage you to watch that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Patty, a few people are interested, Miss Pat, a few people here are interested in the succession of your club. You all had to do the co-club president. Is there a plan to ensure you have the next couple of years set up?
Oh, absolutely. Because our succession plan kind of fell apart, to be honest, we were approached, or I was approached, and I had the idea that I knew this would be a heavy lift, and I really needed an equal partner, and Andrew was exactly the right person for that opportunity. Fortunately, our successors, who we'll have our first club meeting tomorrow, and our successors have chosen to be co-presidents as well. And so that's interesting as well. And we've had a few people kind of look at us about the co-president thing, but it worked beautifully for us. And I'm confident it will for Ashley and Rick, our successors. Their successor has already been named, and she's a returning president, and she will actually president by herself, and her successor has been named. So the good thing we were able to do as a club is use this time to reset, if you will, our succession plan, because I believe Herb is so right. Intentional leadership is critical to success.
I would agree.
Can I add a little to that one?
Go ahead, Herb, please.
It turns out our club had tri-presidents last year because we had the same issue. And we grew, not quite as much as you did. We grew by about a little more than 10 to 15%. And we are happy to say we now have our next 3 presidents in place too. That is a critical piece. We did a survey last year. And again, same thing across the United States and Canada. And we asked the question, did you have a president-elect more than 1 year in advance? Over 90% of the clubs, these growing clubs, they said, absolutely, we had a president-elect more than 1 year in advance. The second question we asked was, do you have a president nominee more than 2 years in advance? And over 50% of those clubs said, yes, we have a president nominee more than 2 years in advance. Didn't get a chance to talk about that in the brief time I had, but succession is critical.
I think it's easier to get those successors in place when things are going well.
Yes, yes, I agree.
That is true, yes. Now, I do have to acknowledge we're not going to be able to get to all the questions that we have in this Q&A list at the moment, but I do want to thank everybody for submitting the questions. We will be dropping in the email addresses, the contact addresses for these panelists, so that if you wanted to follow up, you can do so and potentially schedule a call or just a quick email back and forth. But I do want to say thank you to all of our presenters today, Andrew, Pat, Herb. We truly appreciate the knowledge you shared, the success, and how you've been able to help other clubs hopefully replicate this in their club. So without further ado, I do pass it on to my good friend, Andy, so he can help wrap us up with key information on upcoming events.
Thanks, Jose. And thanks to Herb, Pat, and Andrew for sharing their words of wisdom about what growing clubs look like and how to turn around a club that's been declining for several years. Now on to our MAP awards. So this year, there are only 3 criteria to achieve the Membership Action Plan Club Award. First is to set your 2024-25 membership goal in the Membership Success Center. You can access that through DACDB. Number 2 is upload your 2024-25 club membership plan, and you can do that at the rizones33-34.org/map-awards. And then on July 1st, 2025, if you achieved a net membership gain, you will achieve a MAP award. If you have any questions regarding the awards program, please feel free to put them in the chat box. And our upcoming webinar for August is Enjoyable Club Meetings, Improving the Member Experience. That'll be on Monday, August the 5th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and you can register on DACDB, and you can register at the link in the chat box now. Thank you all for attending this evening. We hope you got something out of it, and we will see you in August.